What if I told you that the reality that you're living in isn't really the one that's out there? The world around you isn't objective, it's filtered through your own mind. So the way in which you see the world shapes the world you live in. By taking control of your perception, you can change your reality. And this isn't just a spiritual idea, it's grounded in neuroscience, and I'm going to show you how in this video. My name's Georgia. I have a master's degree in consciousness, spirituality and transpersonal psychology, and in my free time I love to study the links between science and spirituality. And this specific video is going to touch on how manifestation relates to science, particularly neuroscience. You often hear about manifestation and positive thinking, but what is the science that actually makes this work? The answer is it all comes down to your perception. Your perception is essentially the way you interpret the world. It's the lens through which you experience everything. If that lens is distorted by negativity or limiting beliefs, then you're going to experience a reality that reflects those thoughts. In this video, I'm going to explain how your perception works from a neuroscientific perspective to shape your reality, and then I'm going to give you some practical tips from a manifestation perspective about how you can shift your perception and shift your reality as a result. So first of all, what is perception? Perception is how we interpret the world based on our own beliefs and experiences. So we have our sensory organs like our eyes, our ears, our skin, which send signals from our outer environment to our brain. But our brain doesn't just passively record those signals, instead it interprets them and it fills in the gaps. This process of interpretation shapes our experience of the outer world. So think of it like this. It's almost like we're all wearing unique colour-tinted glasses based on our own past, our mindset, our beliefs. This is where neuroscience and manifestation meet. Your brain isn't just some objective recorder of reality. Instead, it's a dynamic interpreter, and so it shapes how you experience reality. So I want to give you a little more detail as to how our perception works by explaining some different systems that are involved in helping our brain filter information. So basically helping our brain decide what to pay attention to and what to ignore. Because our brains are constantly processing massive amounts of information, and it's impossible to pay attention to all of that information at once. So our brain has to filter that information, and there are different ways in which it does this. The first system that I want to touch on is the Reticular Activating System. Now this is a physical system that helps our brain filter information, and it is essentially a network of neurons in our brain stem that has multiple roles, but one of its roles is to help regulate our attention. It basically acts as a gatekeeper for what enters our conscious awareness, so it filters information based on what's important to us, whether it be our beliefs, our goals, our desires, or even our fears. For example, you might decide that you want a new car, and suddenly you see that specific model of car everywhere you look. Now this is because your brain filters that information. Through the reticular activating system, your brain is going to zone in on that particular model of car because that is now important to you. Now the second way that your brain filters information is through cognitive biases. Now these are essentially mental shortcuts that help you interpret information quickly. So cognitive biases aren't a physical structure in the brain like the reticular activating system. Instead, they're more like habits of thought that shape how we interpret information. They affect how mechanisms like the reticular activating system prioritize and interpret incoming information, and they can make your perception of reality skewed or limited. One type of cognitive bias is confirmation bias, which essentially helps us notice information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring information that contradicts those beliefs. For example, if you believe that you're unlucky, then you might overlook any good things that happen to you and instead focus in on any setbacks you experience, any misfortune you experience. Your mind is going to be biased to anything that you experience which confirms to you that you are unlucky. Now, another type of cognitive bias is negativity bias, and this is essentially that our brains are wired to focus in on negative things because our ancestors needed to basically react to threats quickly to survive, so it's a survival mechanism. So if you're focused on fear or worry, then your brain is going to highlight to you every negative thing in your life, reinforcing those feelings. So the reticular activating system and cognitive biases are two examples of how our brain filters incoming information. And what they both show is that Our perception is not an objective reflection of the world, it's a filtered version. And by understanding these filtering mechanisms, then we have the power to change our perception and to change our reality as a result. So now I want to talk about some of the insights we can gain from the way that our perception works, particularly from a manifestation perspective. Now, I think the first insight that we can gain is that our mind essentially works like a radio. Just like how with a radio we can tune to a different radio station and as a result hear different music, the same kind of thing happens with our brain. By changing our filtering mechanisms within our brain and mind, we can tune to a different reality. We can change the reality that we are perceiving and experiencing. This all comes down to what we focus on. If we focus on abundance, then we're going to see abundance all around us. And then on the other hand, if we focus on lack, we're going to see instances of lack all around us that reinforce that. Basically, our reticular activating system is going to filter information in line with what we focus on. It's going to prioritize those things and bring them into our conscious awareness. So if you want to experience a different reality, then you need to tune your mind to a different reality by focusing on different things. And I want to give you some practical tips as to how you can do this. The first way that you can do this is through visualization. If you take the time to visualize your desired reality in detail, picture every detail of the reality that you're trying to create, then what you're doing is you're priming your reticular activating system to zone in on those things. You're going to tune your mind to seeing those things in your outer environment. And this can include opportunities that are going to bring you closer to that desired reality. You can also do it through affirmations. For example, if you do want to experience more abundance in life, then you can recite to yourself affirmations around abundance. This can be things like money flows to me easily and freely. Because the more you do this, again, you're going to be priming your reticular activating system to look out for those things in your outer reality. Your brain is going to zone in on the things that align with abundance because that's what you've been focusing on. Another thing you can do is gratitude. One way you could do this is by writing down 5 things you're grateful for every morning. Again, what you're doing here is you're priming your mind to focus on the positive things. The more you focus on those things that you're grateful for, the more your reticular activating system is going to prioritize similar things in your conscious awareness. So essentially, you are tuning yourself to a new reality. Now, the second insight we can gain from how our perception works is the power of beliefs. Going beyond simply what we focus on, we all have our own unique belief system, and this is incredibly important from the perspective of our perception. So we've already talked about cognitive biases and how our mind essentially works in a habitual way, and it interprets information based on our beliefs. So it's very important that we have a belief system that is conducive to the life that we want to experience. If you believe that something is possible, then your mind is going to be biased to noticing everything that confirms that belief to you. So this is going to help you zone in on opportunities that are going to get you closer to your goals. But on the other hand, if you believe that something is impossible for you, then your mind is going to focus in on all of the things that confirm to you that you can't do that thing. For example, if you believe that it's impossible for you to be an entrepreneur, then your brain is going to notice things that align with that belief. So you might start paying more attention to things that confirm that you're not creative or that you're bad at business. Or maybe you start noticing instances which would suggest that you're not very good at dealing with money. Our mind is biased to things that confirm our beliefs. So you want to make sure those beliefs are going to benefit you. You want to make sure that your mind is biased to things that are going to help get you closer to your desired reality. So one practical tip for this is that you want to challenge your limiting beliefs and rewire in new beliefs. So the first step of this is noticing what beliefs you have that are limiting. Mindfulness exercises like meditation can help with this because through practices such as meditation, you are essentially sitting with your mind and paying attention to your thoughts. So through doing that, you can notice what thoughts you commonly have, and this makes it a lot easier to pick up on limiting beliefs that you have. And once you start to notice your limiting beliefs, then one practical thing that you can do is intentionally seek out evidence for the opposite beliefs. So going back to the example of abundance, if you have beliefs that are very much from a lack mindset, for instance, maybe you think money is scarce, then what I want you to do is constantly be on the lookout for evidence that confirms to you instead that money is actually abundant, that money is everywhere. So anytime you experience anything in your life which signifies abundance, then note it down. And these can be small things like someone bought you lunch today. Maybe it can be things like you got a bonus at work or you got a raise. It doesn't really matter what it is, you can get creative here, but anything, no matter how small it is, which signifies abundance, jot it down and keep making a list of those things, because what we're doing here is we're creating a new belief. The more we focus in on these examples, the stronger we're going to make this belief. And this links to another neuroscientific principle called neuroplasticity. Essentially, we can strengthen neural pathways in our brain through repetition. So if you want an abundance mindset and you keep focusing in on instances of abundance, then you're going to be strengthening the neural pathways that are associated with that belief. So you are physically wiring that belief into your brain. And now that you've wired that belief in, you've created a new confirmation bias. Now that you believe that life is in fact abundant, this belief is going to bias your mind to other instances that confirm that back to you. So it's essentially like a positive spiral. You've created a belief, and now your mind, through this confirmation bias, is going to focus in on information that keeps confirming that belief. So you'll have shifted from a scarcity mindset and constantly focusing in on everything that confirms lack to you, to instead focusing on everything that confirms abundance to you. So in that way, you will have literally shifted your reality. You now are experiencing abundance because that's what your mind is focusing on. Now, the final insight that I want to talk about that comes from understanding how our perception works is the importance of reframing challenges. So by now we already understand that our experience in life is hugely determined by our perception. And when it comes to experiencing challenges in life, we can either perceive those as setbacks or we can perceive them as opportunities for growth. How we perceive challenges directly influences how we experience them. So if you perceive them as setbacks, then your brain is going to filter out potential solutions and focus in on the problem. This is going to keep you stuck in negative thinking patterns. But if, on the other hand, we see challenges as opportunities for growth, then our brain is going to search for ways in which we can overcome the challenge. So simply reframing the challenge in a positive light is going to help boost our resilience and our problem-solving abilities. So it's going to help, again, prime our brain to zone in on the things that are going to help us out of this challenge. And if you are someone who has more spiritual beliefs, then this might be slightly easier to do. I feel like it is often easier to see certain experiences in life as an opportunity for growth when we look at it from a spiritual perspective. You might, for example, believe that you chose to experience certain things in this life to benefit you in one way or another. But if you don't have those spiritual kinds of beliefs, or even if you do, then one practical tip that I would recommend is whenever you are experiencing a challenge in life, make a list of all of the ways that this challenge is going to help you. It could be as simple as it's going to boost your resilience, or maybe you can think of certain skills that you're going to be able to build through overcoming this challenge. It doesn't really matter. Basically, just get creative here and try and make a list of all of the ways in which this challenge is going to help you grow as a person. And this is going to help prime your mind to focusing on opportunities for growth, to focusing on ways in which you can solve the problem. This is going to happen through your reticular activating system. It's going to focus in on information that aligns with your new way of thinking about the challenge. So it's going to focus in on solutions, for example. But this will also work with your cognitive biases. If you can reframe and genuinely start to believe that the challenge is a good thing, then again, your mind is going to zone in on information that confirms this new bias to you. So your mind is going to be more prone to focusing on things which align with seeing the challenge as a good thing, and it's going to start to ignore information that aligns with seeing the challenge as a setback. So the bottom line is that your perception shapes your reality. By consciously shifting your beliefs and practicing techniques like visualization, gratitude, and reframing, you can change how your brain filters the world, which in turn will change the reality you experience. I really hope you found this video insightful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Now, if you want to understand exactly how to reprogram your mind so that you can shift your perception, then you can watch this video here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.